Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, where we are inspiring you to tap into your power to manifest the happiness, success, and fulfillment that you desire. I am your host, Niajae, the Upper Limit Coach. I am here to dismantle your limiting beliefs and remove the blocks so you can confidently live your life's purpose, because life is meant to be abundant. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? I am super excited to talk to today's guest. It's Stephanie Churma, and she focuses on relationships and good love. And we're going to talk about conscious relationships. But before we dive into who she is and what she does, Stephanie, I want to ask you, what does abundance mean to you?
Abundance to me is living in a state of gratitude and overflow, and really getting that we can coincide with the universe and have a really amazing energetic experience every day.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And that's one of the things I've been focusing on and working with my clients on, serving from your overflow. So you're not allowing your cup to be depleted. So I love that you said that. All right. So tell us about you. Who is Stephanie Churma?
Hello. I'm so excited to be here. Good morning. So my name is Steph, and I'm the owner and founder of the Good Love Company. And my mission really is to help women, especially, open up their hearts, heal their hearts, and get to a space where we can reconnect and really change how modern love looks. Because right now there's a crisis and everyone's hurting because we actually want better. So I feel like I'm here to really help facilitate that change on a massive scale.
I love it. I love it. And what's really amazing is I did a call with Stephanie about 4 years ago. And so I talk to my audience about relationships all the time because I had to do a lot of inner work, like a lot of inner work. I had so many just negative pre-programming, so many limiting beliefs, so many blocks when it came to opening up my heart to love, and really understanding what it required of me to show up my best self in a relationship. And at one point I was in a space of like, it's this person, it's the industry, it's, dating apps. And I was blaming everyone else, rather than being like, okay, let me see what I have going on and how I'm showing up as a partner or potential partner. So that was like huge, huge, huge for me.
Yeah, and it's so true. And I hear this all the time with high performance women. They want a really high caliber guy, but they think they're all good. And it's really humbling to say, wait a second, I'm the common denominator. I have chosen my relationships. I've been in my relationships. So maybe my picker is a little off. And it's really such an important thing to kind of get out of this denial that it's always them. And I said to a client yesterday, I said, if men are the problem, why do you want one? What's that about? And she was like, oh, and I'm like, we got to quiet the anger so that we can see and then receive.
Yes, I love it. So I talk a lot about conscious relationships, but I think it's one of those things where that looks different for everyone. So how would you explain what a conscious relationship is?
I love that we are now starting to understand the importance of this. And I love that you said that it looks different for everyone, because it really does. I think that as you evolve and as you grow in your earth school journey and your mission, the things that you think you want may change. I remember when I was single, I was convinced that my partner would be older than me. He would be an investment banker. We would live in a brownstone. And that was not what I needed. And so I think the first part of conscious relationship is to really go, what character do I love? What type of energy do I really enjoy being around? And then committing to being that yourself and really looking at who the person is. And I think a lot of the times women say to me, I want a really spiritual guy. And I'm like, do you though? Do you want that? Or do you want someone who can ground you in your spirituality and listen to you lovingly and support you? I think it's really about going, what type of energy do you want? I love grounded Earth King energy. They're not super spiritual, but they can really ground a woman who plays with spirituality and that type of energy. So conscious relationship is knowing who you are and what you require, and then seeing if you can allow yourself to receive that, because it may not look how we want it to look
Mm-hmm.
or how we think it should look.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So I definitely want to dive more into that. But before we do, what caused you to want to do this work? Because I know everyone that is really passionate about their work has a story behind it. So what inspired you to do this work?
Well, I spent my entire 20s in a state of denial and depression, and I had no idea that I was existing in that space. I
Hmm.
was an extremely promiscuous woman. I was drinking wine any chance I could. I thought that I was Samantha Jones from Sex and the City. I was living in this fantasy land. I was in downtown Toronto, and I really was so confused why I was single. I
Hmm.
didn't get it because I thought, oh, I'm great in bed. I'm funny, I'm pretty. Life should be easy for me. It was a very self-absorbed, privileged attitude, and for a long time I didn't understand. And so when I turned 29, I remember thinking, my formative years are over. I'm running out of time. And I had a moment, like the come to Jesus moment, where I said, I'm doing something wrong. I'm missing a piece, and I'm willing to be guided because I can't figure it out. My own intellect can't solve this problem.
Hmm.
And so I was divinely guided to quit my bartending job and apply to work for a temp agency that would place me in work environments that there was no alcohol, there was no distraction, there was no partying, so I could just reset. That was the guidance, and I said I will follow this. And so a couple hours later, I got called to say that there was going to be a job opening for a 1 month contract at this pool chemical warehouse company. The message said, bring steel toed boots and we'll see you at 6 a.m. And I thought, this is perfect. It will be a complete pattern interrupt from the lifestyle I was leading. And I was like, this will be so good. No distractions. And then the guy that I was assigned to do a project with that next day is the guy I'm now marrying.
Hmm.
I met him, I knew it. I was like, oh my goodness. And then from that, I dove deep into behavioral psychology. Why do we do what we do? Why do we pick who we pick? All of this behavioral work. And so through my transformation, getting sober, having 2 children, and getting into a space where I realized what good love feels like, I was like, I have to teach this. I have to show other people, because it took me a decade to learn one lesson. And that lesson was, what you behave like is what you will receive.
Hmm.
I said to myself, I want a long-term relationship. I want to be wifey material, but I was behaving like a good time girl. So
Hmm.
I received men who were into that and repelled men who weren't. And it took
Hmm.
me 10 years to figure that out. And so that's how the Good Love Company came to be.
Yes. Wow, very powerful. And you said, I remember you telling me that the like your husband now is different than what you imagined
Yes,
him to be.
totally. Yeah, 100%. Because we all sit down and we write out our list,
Hmm.
and what we write down are personality traits. It's like, funny and smart and employed and has a car, and that's everyone. That could be a 17-year-old and a 60-year-old say anything. So what I did was I said, what type of person do I want to be around? What's the character? Who is he? And then I said, I'm willing to see whatever that looks like. So my partner is 8 years younger than me. When I met him, he was driving a bike to work. He had a futon and an Eminem poster on his wall. And I was like, oh my God, this is a frat boy. And then it was not. And so it was really about saying, if I'm placing an order, I want to place an order of someone who I can spend my life with. So what does that look like? Who is he? What do we do? How do we spend our time? not arbitrary characteristics. And so that's why it's so important, because you hear women say, he's got to be 6'3", he's got to be this, he's got to be that. And I'm like, what if the most perfect person for you was 5'9"? Is that a deal breaker? And so it's really about going, who are we building? What type of person? And then let whatever happens to flow into your life flow. Don't block it.
Yeah, for me with my journey, what I had to do is focus on how I wanted to feel. Like, do I want to feel supported? Do I want to feel nurtured? And that to me was the game changer, because in the beginning, so I went through every phase you went through. So I went through the phase of like, like I found myself in this pattern of like 3 months here, 3 months here, 5 months here, 3 months here, a month here. And I'm just like, okay, why am I not getting past this certain space? And so I had to really take a look at me, because at first I was blaming it like, oh, Bumble is messing everything up and no one wants a real relationship anymore. But I'm like, no, people want relationships, but for some reason, I'm not connecting or attracting these types of guys. So what is it that I'm putting out there? And at one time I compared myself to a glittery shoe. So I have I have these glitter Christian Louboutins that are beautiful, but you don't want to wear them because they're not comfortable. But I keep them in this glass case, and I'm like the glittery shoe, where like they're beautiful and they're fun to try on and take a cute picture, but they're not sustainable long term. So what do I shift in myself to where I'm attracting someone who wants a lifelong partnership? And just that realization alone just changed everything for me.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah.
That's so good. Oh, I love that. That is such a good analogy, because I'll tell you, working with women they have to be in their masculine to do their work. They're high performance, they're hustlers. And when I tell them you have to soften, they don't like that, because it immediately means that we have to change or be docile, or the men will always be above us. And it's really about going, we have to remember that feminine essence and feminine energy is our superpower, and we have to learn how to balance both. That is my personal work, because I work from home and my guy works from home too, so we're always running around together. And I have to remember, soften, open, let him, he wants to be the guy. He wants that. And if I'm constantly being the guy, I'm either going to attract pansy type wet blanket dudes, for lack of a better word, or we're going to lose our polarity and attraction. And so it's really about going like, what do I need to do to relax and soften and open and be led? Let him lead. And so that's a whole other conversation, but I love that shoe analogy, because that is so appropriate, and I love that. I do.
So what are some ways for a woman to be able to tell if she's that good time girl?
Well, actually, beautiful question. I love that. You really have to think about the types of experiences you're having. So this looks like getting drunk on dates and having long dates. People think that's romantic. And I'm like, we don't want to be spending 8 hours with someone buzzed the first time we meet them, because the likelihood of decisions that you may not have made will likely happen. So drinking too much, getting sexual way too early, false intimacy in texting. So that looks like when you first start connecting with someone and you're texting all day long. We don't want to do that, because it sends a message that you're closer than you are. You've never met yet. You're still a stranger. We don't want to start thinking that things are tighter than they are, because what happens is we assume as women, this is something, we're moving into something, and the guy's like, I'm on a dating app, I'm talking to a lot of people. So it's really about the actions that you're doing and the actions that the person that you're seeing is doing. If you can only get together on Tuesday nights, red flag. If weekends are off limits, there's a good chance he's married. truthfully, I had a client that said he only wants to get together Tuesday nights. And I'm like, his wife probably works Tuesday nights. We
Mm.
need to start thinking about what is the behavior. If you going on dates that are not in the town that you live in, dates that involve partying, anything that would allude to a good time and not let's get together at 10 a.m. and go for a hike at the canyon and get a
Mhm.
coffee. Those activities, daytime activities, anything that requires getting to know someone naturally is a precursor of someone who wants an actual relationship. Because as we get into adulthood, I'm in my mid 30s, I'm not at the club anymore. That's not for me. For some
Mhm.
people, sure. But when I was looking for a partner, I was like, well, I don't want to sleep until 2 p.m. on the weekends. Like, I'm past that.
Mhm.
So I'm going to look for someone who says, do you want to go out for dinner and maybe go bowling versus I'll meet you at the club at 1 a.m. So it's about looking like, what is the lifestyle? What are the activities? How am I being portrayed? Is everything sexual? If you actually look, you go, oh, okay. And so it's about saying, why is this okay for me? Why is this enough for me? Being texted at 11 p.m. is not flattering. It's
Yeah.
not. So it's really about going, I do not want this. I'm in charge of my life. I'm in charge of who is in my life. So we start just changing the boundaries. Don't answer your phone after 9 p.m. See what happens. If a guy actually likes you, he'll text you at 11 a.m. So it's really about assessing behavior from both parties and then making decisions based on what you want.
I love that. Soundmetrics is a company designed to help you achieve well being and peak performance with sound therapy. Crystalline Tibetan sound bowls are proven to help enhance cognitive functions, reduce stress and anxiety, and align the body for healing. Learn how it works and download a recording or guided meditation at thesoundmetrics.com and enjoy some deep relaxation. Another space that I found myself in after I had that realization was now I was looking to, like, I have a lot of married friends, looking to my married friends to kind of shape my perfect relationship. Like, I'm like,
Right.
okay, I just want to be around like married people with a family. So, like, some of that energy could rub off on me.
I love
But,
that.
but then I found that, like, I'm like, this is not how I envision my relationship, and this is not how I envision my relationship. So then I had to figure out, like, what does my perfect relationship look like? And that's without social norms, that's without what my mom says I should be doing,
Yeah.
so removing all of the pre-programming, all of the social norms, and just really figuring out what is it that I want. And then when I started like dating someone that I liked, I felt like all of this stuff came up, and I kind of was in like self-destruct mode because I wasn't used to it. So
Mm-hmm.
once someone finds someone that they're like, okay, I finally have a good guy, what are some tips to not destroy it?
To not self-sabotage in a
Yeah.
new relationship.
Yeah.
Well, it's very common, especially the high intellect, high emotional intelligence women. We are trained to think, right? This is a beautiful machine we have. So I think what happens is we get overwhelmed and the brain goes, problem to solve, let's push away the stressor. It's a natural thing. So the first step to do is to go, okay, my brain is working as normal. Fantastic. I am now in charge. So what feels good? Staying in the moment, taking it day by day. And whenever I say stay in the moment, it's such an eye roll, but really it's a practice. It's a practice to go, if you're sitting, and this is a real life example of what I did when I first met Jordan. We had lunch and we were just talking face to face, and I had a moment of, he's young, I don't know, freaking out, blah, 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 judgment, ego, all this stuff, right? Bubbling to the surface because could life be this good? Could it actually happen for me?
Mm.
It's so normal. And I remember sitting at lunch, eating a burger, thinking, didn't say this out loud, but I was like, enjoy this burger, enjoy this Coke, look him in the eye. This is new. This is uncomfortable. Allow it to be uncomfortable. Sounds so silly, but I really had to train myself to sit in the moment and go, it's okay to be here. it's safe to be here. If you have spent years by yourself protecting your heart with your armor up, it's going to be uncomfortable to then go, okay, of course it's going to be uncomfortable. So it's about taking little moments. Can you find a moment of peace where you go, this isn't so bad? If you can find one, you can find many. And the more that you train yourself to go, it's okay. It's totally fine in this moment. We don't want to start thinking, okay, well, it's fine in this moment, but in a month from now, then what? We go, no, the only thing that exists is right now. If by some happenstance this doesn't end the way I anticipate it, I will survive like I've done everything in my entire life. And you go back to the moment. You take in what he smells like, you take in what he sounds like, and then allow yourself to flex your receiving muscle. And it will feel weird, but then there will be a day where it won't feel as weird. And then eventually you'll go, oh, okay, I'm in it, right? So that would usually be the first thing that I would suggest.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So I know we've been talking a lot about like my journey. What are some of the other things that you see happening with your clients, like some of the biggest problems?
The biggest problem that I'm seeing right now with the women that are preparing for a relationship, I don't like the word single because you're really not. You're just in preparation for a relationship. And she had been torn up by this guy who for 3 years was on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again. And this notion of, if I stick around long enough to show him how great I am and my love will heal him, I'll keep working hard at it. And I see a lot of that where it's kind of like you're trying to put a puzzle piece where it shouldn't go and force it. And what ends up happening is I'll ask a client, why are you with someone on again, off again for 3.5 years? She goes, well, that's how it's been. It just happened like that. There's a lot of things that are happening to me. It's like, well, I'm just in this. It's just what it is. And I say, you are in charge. So many women are waiting to be chosen. And I'm like, it's backwards. You decide. You have agreed to the terms of this relationship. So we can't then go, he doesn't know what he wants. You have allowed it to be like that. You've been okay with it. And if you look back, there's a high probability he told you the terms at the beginning. And she said, oh yeah, he said that he wasn't looking for anything serious. I said, but you said, oh, challenge accepted, instead of thank you so much for this lovely evening. She said, yeah. I said, okay. So there's a lot of personal responsibility. There's a lot of going, when someone tells you, we need to take that as the truth and be thankful and not try and contort and manipulate a pairing into something that isn't supposed to be. So I see a lot of that. And it's just really about going, settling for crumbs will keep you unfed. We've heard that quote before. And really assessing, why is it okay to have someone in and out of your life on their terms? Why are we allowing mistreatment? That's a huge theme that I'm seeing.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. I've literally made every mistake in the book. So I've totally been there, because what I used to do is I would make excuses for the guys. And then I would convince myself, oh, I'm not ready for a relationship either. I just started this new, thing in my business and I need to focus on my business. So like, this is okay. And I would validate it and I would make excuses to stay in that space. And so it took a tremendous amount of self-awareness, and understanding attachment styles also was huge for me. And that's when I realized my own patterns, but it takes a lot to be able to look at yourself and your own actions. And it's, oh my goodness. So yes, I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
It's not easy. Like, it's so tough to go, what if I'm the problem? But once you get over that, it's so much freedom, because then you can get to work and then you can go, oh, okay, what if this belief that I've been acting out didn't even come from me? What if this was just from my mother, from her mother, and I'm just acting out the karma? That's when things can shift. But so often we stay in denial, and what happens is over time that denial turns into suppressed anger. And so when you see women that we would call bitter,
Mm-hmm.
that's where that comes from. They have been spending so much brain space making everything okay and denying the truth that that turns into anger. So we don't want to do that. It's far easier to rip the band-aid off and go, all right, I'm in charge here. It's powerful. And then you'll start to see the shifts because and this is the kicker is that so many women go, I'm doing the work. I'm writing in my journal. I'm doing my affirmations. And I'm like, okay, writing in your journal is great, but we need to do a little bit deeper work because if you are not seeing in your reality what you've been journaling about for a year, then there's still work to be done. No one likes to hear that. We want to journal our way to everything. And it's like, no, maybe we need to start assessing your own inventory, your own belief system, take the thorn out, and only then will you be able to see the good guy. So many women are like, where is he? I'm like, you're not looking properly because you're looking for what you think you want or what you've had before, or you're waiting for some guy to smarten up, come around instead of like the guy over there who's exactly what you want, but your blinders are on because you're still looking through a lens that's clouded. So that's why you have to do your work. And it's fun when you go, okay, because nothing else will work until you do yours.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, where does self-love come into good love?
Yeah. Well, self love, and it's such a buzzword in our industry. Like it really is, because I think a lot of people go, well, that's great, but how do you even do that? Many of us were not taught how to love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We just weren't. Many of us are from divorced parents or working parents or parents who parented out of guilt because it was from a split parenthood or they worked from home. And so we were kind of given things to make us feel worthy and important, as opposed to 5 minutes a day saying, you're beautiful and important, and I'm happy you're here. Our parents and their generation, they didn't have that concept yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do it to ourselves. So I'm a huge fan of inner child work. I'm a huge fan of taking a moment to meditate. And the first thing that comes up, not to judge it, but to ask, say, how old am I in this pain? The first number that comes up is usually correct. So if you can, not everyone has access to this, but if you can, let's say the number is 9 years old. If you can find a photo of you at 9 years old or around there, I would suggest taking that photo and sitting down in a quiet space. And yes, it feels corny, but whatever, talking to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I would take a photo and say, okay, Stephanie, what do you want? Like, what do you need today? And the first thing that comes up is correct, because this is all subconscious stuff coming up and out. So the more that we could soothe the little girl, the less likely the little girl will act out in our adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
Because little girl behavior is really the detriment right now in romantic love from what I see. Please choose me. I want you. Please love me. Don't leave me. That's all childhood wounds that need to be cleaned up. And what happens is we don't clean it up. We put a band-aid on a third-degree burn and then go, I'm ready to get married. And it's like, no, we cannot share our lives with somebody yet because there's too much mess. So inner child work is massively important, because when you can not act out from wounded space, that's when your choices feel good, the people around you feel good, you have self-respect, you have achievement, you have accomplishment. And that is what self-love is. When you can wake up every day saying, you know what, I may not ace it every minute, but I really like who I am. That comes from confidence, and confidence comes from esteemable acts. So we have to make better choices, less judgment, kinder words, get rid of people who drain you. These are all things that we can do, because self-love is a lifetime process, and it just requires kind of digging through the attic and just cleaning things up.
Yes, love, love, love it. Love it. And I do 100% agree that dealing with that inner child that is throwing a temper tantrum is important. So I can talk to you all day about about this stuff, but I know we have limited
I know,
time.
me too.
So I want to wrap it up with your top 3 tips for living an abundant life.
Ooh, I love this. Tip number one would be to monitor the thoughts that you have when you spend money. This is something that I find massively important. Notice if you have rationalizations about how you spend money. The second thing to do would be meditate. I will preach meditation to the cows come home, because it's the only way that you can quiet your mind to get the insight and the wisdom. A gratitude meditation or a heart opener is phenomenal. And then my third tip for living an abundant life would be to act in generous ways as often as possible. I think a lot of the times we're kind of in a busy, booked, boss mode, and I think we forget, like, a smile, $5 to someone on the street, bringing a coffee to your neighbor, any type of generosity, it'll just boomerang back, and everyone feels better when we lead from kindness.
Love it.
I love
Love, love, love
you.
it. So where can people find you online?
So you can find me at goodloveco.com, and I'm on all social media at goodloveco, and I'm searchable in Google at Stephanie Churma.
Love it. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for coming on. I love everything that you do. I'm always like, yes, when you post.
Oh, this was so much fun. Honestly, I really enjoyed this conversation, and I just appreciate what you're doing for your people and your world. And I'm honored to be able to give some value to your audience.
Oh, thank you so much. And we will chat soon because we have a
Yes.
lot to catch up on. All right, M&Ms, until next time, love and light. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.